from a marketing perspective, it's actually one of the biggest challenges I faced. When TV hit and everybody owns a restoration shop, how do you distinguish or delineate between real restoration work and somebody who has a body shop, a collision shop, that one of his clients brought him a Mustang and they repainted it incorrectly, right? But now all of a sudden they're cool. I'm just like
right.
Boyd Connington. I'm just like Chip Foose. I'm just like, and I'm a restorer and I got a Mustang. And then people walk in the door here and be like, how much does it cost? And as soon as they ask that, they're not and I had to weed through a lot of that. It's demoralizing. It really does rip the soul out of you after a while. Everybody's a restorer. And, it's exhausting.
We've had a lot of conversation with guests about that because there's a TV doesn't show the reality of it. It never talks about the cost of it. So people don't understand that, right? They don't understand what goes into it. They just, you can restore a car in a week and it's, $5,000 to do a paint job. Yeah, right.
Probably the equivalent of being a doctor and having to deal with WebMD and ER and all the TV shows. That's not how medicine works.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gearheads and Gasoline, powered by Redline Oil and AMD. I'm Barry Alt with Motorhead Digital, and my co-host is Annette Bauer with Annette Bauer Creative. We're excited to welcome Jason Wenig, the owner of The Creative Workshop, to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Hi, Jason. Welcome and good morning or
good morning
afternoon, wherever you are.
You're early, so yeah, we're good over here. We're normal time. You guys are behind.
Well, we're excited to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for taking some time this morning or this afternoon to sit down with us and kind of go over what you do and how you do it and why you do it and all the good things. We always kick off every podcast with a little bit of a different question, and that is, what is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink? Well, it depends upon the day. It depends on the mood. So right now I'm in a big health kick. So it's some kind of concoction of crazy health protein, adaptogens, and stuff to keep my hair nice and full. But, on a Friday night with a great steak, I'm a very classic martini, dry up olives kind of guy.
Nice. Now, before we started the recording, you said that you're from New York, right?
Born and raised New York City, third generation. I was the first New Yorker that actually left New York, which is a major ordeal in a New York family. I reside now in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where the Creative Workshop is located, Dania Beach,
Nice.
Southeast Florida.
Nice. That's awesome.
We were down there. I should have come and visit. We were just down there in the spring, my wife and I didn't even think about it. We're trying to figure out what to do down there because it was just a stopover we went to Mille Isle Concourse, went down there, and then went to St. Thomas.
We were at a meeting. Did you see our car? When you first walked in, did you see that unbelievable Aston Martin DB4, that shimmering blue? That was our car. We were showing it. We unveiled that at Pebble Beach in August.
Okay, I have pictures of that. I was wondering if you were there or not, and I didn't think to text you.
You had like 20 bottles of champagne. Where the hell were you? You definitely walked by too fast because we were throwing a nice thing.
Yeah, that was a weird day because it was the rain, they ended up moving it up a day, right? So we came in, we were late as well because of traffic and things like that. So it was kind of fun. So we kind of rushed through. So
if you're ever down this neck of the woods, whether I'm available or not, it's always an open door. You can always come in and poke around. There's always really cool stuff going on. So, and that goes to you as well, Annette. If you ever find yourself needing a little South Florida warmth and sunshine, you have at least somewhat of a home base by swinging by the old barn over here.
Nice. Thanks.
His building is amazing. It's all really old wood beams and everything, and his office is above it, and he looks right down on it. That's why we might even hear some work going on today during the podcast.
I don't know if this is a faux pas for filming, but take a look down.
Nice. That's awesome.
Wow.
Multi-level.
Cool.
Yeah. So, Jason, one of the things I want to start off with is, have you always been into cars? I understand you were an executive in an internet startup back in the day before getting in the restoration industry, but have you always been a car guy?
Yeah, without a doubt. Really, what Creative Workshop is the end result of a big loop, right? So I grew up with my father working on Jaguars because we didn't have any money, and to get to school or soccer practice, I had to get a Jaguar 420 to run, which this is before the internet. This is before forums and blogs and
Google.
and Google and anything. So it was me, my dad, a beat up old Jaguar, oil all over the floor. And back then it was Channel Hardware Store, which eventually became Home Depot, to try to find plumbing supplies to make the car get another 100 feet so I can get to school that day.
Oh my gosh.
That evolved into what ended up being, not even realizing it at the time, but growing up in Long Island, which is a hotbed of automotive craziness, right by one of the biggest cruise strips in North America at that time. So we always assume cruise strips are like American Graffiti, California, and those kind of things. Well, now that I realize it, and I've read articles about it now, researching it, I happen to grow up right next to one of the more prolific cruise strips, certainly in New England, maybe even the East Coast, and potentially ranked in the country. And so our only goal was to, whatever we were doing to our cars, make sure it ran on Friday night so we can cruise Friday and Saturday and get into all sorts of trouble. Being a New Yorker, I then slipped into the corporate undergrad, grad, corporate thing, marketing, advertising, Wall Street, some internet stuff as well when the internet was first thought of as an idea. And it took a while for me to understand what I really loved and get the confidence to do something that completely broke the mold of what a typical New Yorker does. And so that's kind of how I ended up here, and that was the path to get here. So very quickly.
Nice. You had mentioned on your intake form that you literally took the leap, like jumping out of a plane without a parachute kind of thing, into this concourse-level automotive restoration. I mean, restoration is one thing, but concourse-level restoration, working on one-of-a-kind cars and things, is another. What really got you to want to do that, right? From tinkering with Jaguars, trying to get to school, to that. That's a big jump, right?
That's a great question. And so, yes, growing up mechanically gifted, having fun with cars, 5 engine swaps by the time I made it to college, that kind of stuff is maybe typical for the typical gearhead that bleeds oil, right? The universe acts in mysterious ways, and I've gotten much, much better at listening versus avoiding the universe. And as a matter of fact, I really only follow the universe and what it brings me at this point. But the story of how it actually ended up where I am is remarkable. Too long for here, but ultimately, personality-wise, if I was going to do something, I was going to do something big. And if I'm going to do something big, I'm going to do something perfect. And I'm anal and I'm very detail-oriented. And I was fortunate enough that an individual that was at this facility, albeit not in the capacity he's in right now, understood Concours work. And I listened for a while. And my business plan that I wrote in New York City in Gramercy Park was not what I'm doing right now. And the actual name of the company, which became a DBA, is not the name of the company now. It's Conversion Motors. So the idea was back then, which is what we call resto mods. I was one of the first people who wrote a business plan on the concept of a resto mod. And then it became something else. But ultimately, it was a personality match. It certainly was not the easiest path. It certainly made me earn every second of it. And I certainly did not know what I was getting myself into. But I sharpened the axe. I kept chopping. I kept fighting. I kept learning. I kept screwing things up. I kept getting kicked in the privates. And sooner or later, you start earning some Super Bowl rings. And I'm very, very proud of not only who we've become and what we do, but I also am really glad that no one handed it to me. It's kind of my personality. Like I really feel that whatever the hell success you might want to call, I hate that word. It's not success. Accomplishments we've been able to achieve came with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And so it means a little bit more to me, at least.
You brought up a good point, right? Like we talk about this a lot on the podcast and just in general in business. And we certainly talk about this to our kids, right? Is that you cannot succeed without failing, right? That is part of the equation. You absolutely must fail in order to learn all of those lessons and figure out how to do it better or figure out how you want to do it different. Or like you'd said, like just figure out how you want to do it, period. But you got to fail to succeed.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Yeah, it hurts, and we don't want to think like that. But like even like going to the gym, like muscle gains, if you're not sore, you're not doing anything, right? So
100%.
that's how we roll.
You talk to anybody that is famous or very wealthy or whatever, and they can tell you all the stories of how many times they failed first, right?
What's the saying? It's my overnight success took 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. When you started,
Right.
yeah. When you started the creative workshop, was it just you, or did you have guys that you went, look, I'm going to do this, but I need you and you to come with me to build this? Because, obviously there's a lot of knowledge that you need to do concourse level cars and do that kind of restoration that you're doing.
It kind of goes a little bit into the universe, and that is I knew that I wanted to do something in cars. I investigated a number of places, a number of buildings, from raw dirt to empty buildings to established facilities. This place, as you know, Barry, is rather unique. What you don't know, which I might have told you, is that when I walked in the door, the rats were bigger than cats. And you can't, if we're of the age group to remember the thing called Sanford and Son, that TV show, it made Sanford and Son look like a Ritz-Carlton. I shit you not. There were manuals that were stuck together with dead rats.
Oh, geez. That's gross. Oh my God. I remember seeing a picture of all these toilets or something you had to drag out of there.
Where I'm sitting right now behind me was the guy would hoard old toilet bowls. What, they stopped making them? I don't understand. Is this a commodity? Like, is this like COVID when everyone was on a toilet paper rush? Like, it's a chest disease. Your ass is not exploding. Why are you hoarding toilet paper? I don't get it. And so I had like 30 old toilet bowls up here. I guess maybe the price of porcelain ever went up. And so a year of sanding floors, chasing out rats, land crabs that decided this facility was more amenable to their lifestyle than the ocean where they fucking came from.
Really?
It was a hell of a thing. And so,
oh my gosh, I love it. That's hilarious.
And so, but the cheekbones were there. It enamored me. And there were 3 employees here, 2 of which were hired the day before I took the keys over to show that there was actual still staff. Was the previous owner of this facility ran the business into defunct, ran it into bankruptcy, and he was notorious. The UPS guy would no longer deliver to this facility. We had to go, or they had to go pick it up because he's such an asshole.
Really?
And so he could not keep staff, could not keep clients. It was basically bankrupt. So I was buying a shell of a company.
What were they doing cars there?
They were building cars.
Okay.
Because of the 3, Mike, who was the one employee that was basically doing all of the work, was long-term. And when I came in, this guy was not treated well, was not treated fairly. And if you can imagine what I just explained to you, the environment and the way that the UPS guy, I mean, who doesn't like your UPS guy? He brings Christmas presents every day and he's scared. I recognized that Mike knew what he was doing. I recognized that Mike cared. I recognized that this was a special person. And Mike was the one who really understood how to build proper cars. It took me 10 years to build an appropriate team around Mike, where we can actually do all the work and do it all really well. And then another 10 years to perfect it and build it and make it more smooth.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into that, right?
There's a lot of work.
There's a lot of young people out there. I'm just going to start a restoration shop. And they don't understand what really goes into doing it right, getting the right team and things like that, right?
From a marketing perspective, it's actually one of the biggest challenges I faced. When TV hit and everybody owns a restoration shop, how do you distinguish or delineate between real restoration work and somebody who has a body shop, a collision shop, that one of his clients brought him a Mustang and they repainted it incorrectly, right? But now all of a sudden they're cool. I'm just like
right.
Boyd Connington. I'm just like Chip Foose. I'm just like, and I'm a restorer and I got a Mustang. And then people walk in the door here and be like, how much does it cost? And as soon as they ask that, they're not and I had to weed through a lot of that. It's demoralizing. It really does rip the soul out of you after a while. Everybody's a restorer. It's exhausting.
We've had a lot of conversation with guests about that because there's a TV doesn't show the reality of it. It never talks about the cost of it. So people don't understand that, right? They don't understand what goes into it. They just, you can restore a car in a week and it's, $5,000 to do a paint job. Yeah, right.
probably the equivalent of being a doctor and having to deal with WebMD and ER and all the TV shows. Like, that's not how medicine works. Like,
Oh my gosh.
like a really good looking gal doesn't run in and give you the thing and you just go home that day, right? It just doesn't work like that. And so,
It's
it's
hilarious it's hilarious that you say that you reference to the MD, the WebMD, because my my husband is 100% convinced that when he goes to see the doctor, that he tells the doctor, like, they ask, "Oh, what are you here for today? What's bothering you?" And he says that he tells him, and his doctor turns around on his computer and it's all, and he's like, I swear he's looking on Google. I swear he's like, his symptoms are blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is what we need to do for you. He was like, I swear to you, that's what he does.
I thought they were taking notes. Come on. Jeez, mine does that all the time. And I thought he was taking notes.
Is it itching? Is it bleeding? Is it, okay, this is, no?
Right.
Okay, next.
Exactly. What's the next step? Next step.
I'm going to hit you on the knee with this hammer. Something's supposed to happen.
Yeah, here's another $100 bill, right?
Hey guys, Jason here with AMD, and you're watching the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast. Check this out.
So as 20 years of doing this, well, when you said you really perfected it after 20 years, and you've won some prestigious Pebble Beach Awards and the RPM Foundation Award. Is there a holy grail car out there that you're still looking to restore and get into that and you haven't found it yet? Or is it there and you just don't, they don't want to have you restored or whatever?
Not really. And there's a reason why. There's a logic to the response to that, in that I really love old cars, and really what I look for now is peace. And peace comes with great relationship with clients. And so since I don't specialize in a particular mark, year, make, or model, I've seen it all. What I really want, what brings me happiness, are people who want to work with us, love working with us, respect the work we do, understand how hard the work is, and then when they see the results, really, really get it. And so whether it's a Fiat Jolly or Duesenberg or Ferrari, or I can name a half a dozen cars you probably never heard of before, from Moretti's to Giauers to Stangolini's to Deutsch Benets and all these other things we've restored and seen and brought to Pebble and whatnot. Each one presents a challenge. Each one's got charm and wonder. Each one theoretically is loved by the client. Like, in other words, we really don't work with auction people who just buy and sell cars. Like, we just don't, right? And so theoretically, whoever brings us a car, they bought it for a reason. They brought it to us for a reason. And so that awesomeness kind of is part of that relationship. And so I don't covet any particular car. I covet the love and the soul of the automobile in relation to how the work we do and the client that owns that car. And that's what I hunt for. And I'm fortunate that we have a lot of that right now.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know I said we weren't going to get deep into the cars, but when we visited, you had a English race car. I think it's a Grand Prix car that Graham Hill drove, possibly, if I recall correctly. It's been a few years, but it was interesting. You had a car there that it was green and yellow, I think.
The green one. So we have a lot of those types of cars. What you might be talking about is the Cooper Bobtail.
Yeah,
and that's a very special car, very, very cool car.
Yeah, I was intrigued by that. It's just different. But since we're a podcast about business and marketing, I want to ask you a question. You had mentioned that you rely on word of mouth. Are you doing for your business, for your awesome clients and the cars that they bring you and the love of those cars, are you doing any other intentional marketing efforts to cultivate those referrals or other work?
Yes. Now, as an ex-marketing guy, like, I can get deep into this conversation and talk about the entire product mix of what I can be doing, should be doing, and what I don't do. Okay. So the answer is actually rather boring. And that is, I always run a couple of standard full page or half page ads in some of the bigger magazines out there. And that's, from my perspective, brand building. People have to know that you're still alive. It doesn't sell anything. It just says, we're here, remember us, and hope to see you soon. Then from a traditional marketing perspective, I then have social channels, which I don't do nearly enough of. And so, it kind of frustrates me, especially since it's changed a lot. It's really, to me, a lot of social is more narcissism than it is actual presenting something. Like the old Instagram was the greatest thing ever. It was this beautiful photographic format where really talented people would present really interesting. That's what we're talking about being in a live shop. That is a Mustang 7 getting started up and rolled out of the shop. So she'll be through in a second. You can't tell how loud that is, right? But you know what? If we're going to get interrupted, let's get interrupted by something awesome.
Yeah.
And this thing's relatively quiet to some of the. We had, you can hear me while we'll get back to the story, but we have a dyno, an in-shop dyno, and the floors are wood. It's a wood building. And we just finished building a Hemi Roadrunner, and the Hemi was tweaked. And you can hear it in the lope of the cam and all those other fun stuff. We put this thing on the dyno and, lit it up. And, there's different ways that horsepower and torque manifests itself.
Right.
Like, you could have a tuner with unbelievable horsepower ratings, but it doesn't rip your intestines out, right? Hemis are designed to pull your intestines out through your butt.
Yeah.
And things started falling off the walls of the building here. Like if you see behind me, shit was falling down. And
really?
I was like, yes, that's the number. That's it. We hit the spot right there. Get the readings and send it off, right? Okay. Anyway, so that's quite quiet.
That's awesome.
So social, I will post a memento. I will post things. Like if we're going to Amelia Island, if you go to my Instagram page, when we were at Amelia, I will post the tour and the drive, and because I want people to know that we're there and maybe come by and have a glass of champagne with us, whatever it is. Again, I rarely drink, but on something like an Amelia thing, having a couple of glasses of champagne with clients, inviting in judges and friends of mine, because I also run, Motorcar Cavalcade, the big concours down here. So there's always people that are coming and visiting and things like that. It's fun stuff. Now, word of mouth is probably the number one thing. And word of mouth, you can't just rely on word of mouth. So you have to manifest word of mouth sometimes. So we do host cars and coffees here, maybe once or twice a year. I will host local car clubs here a couple times a year. Never to expect any business, but it is just allowing people who access to a facility that some can't ever afford or just heard about or love coming and telling stories, but it spreads word in really wonderful and organic ways. The business operates in an interesting sine wave, and I'm not going off subject, but it connects in with marketing, right? In that we kind of always have a backlog, and we always have great big projects, but just like anything, you have to get used to the sine wave. There are busier times and softer times and busier times, which earlier in your career can be concerning, especially when you're not that well established and payroll looms. Now it's not as big of a concern, but as a business owner, it's always a concern. Like you wake up every single morning, a small business owner, there's no manufacturing plant that's just turning out product. Like said in the most crass sort of way, we eat what we kill, right? And so you have to always have business, right? New business or fresh business and so in my quiver, if I ever really felt that things were soft or love wasn't coming in organically, yes, I would ramp up things like advertising on social media, more print ads, maybe even local type of newsletters or things like that. And then there's email campaigns and things like that, none of which work the way they used to work. And so as you're going to ask, like the product mix and how you do it and frequency and message and tone are all critical. And if I had a perfect answer, I'd be doing it all. And there's no perfect answer. So I'd rather do it right and less than more and wrong. So right now I'm 98% less of, and just let the universe flow out naturally.
It's interesting that you still do some print in some bigger magazines, because I run into a lot of high-end restoration shops, other restoration shops that it'll say, well, and I want to mention this, you have a really awesome website. It's very well built. It has a lot of great information on it. And I'll run into a lot of shops that say, well, I'm booked out 5 years. I have Facebook and that's all. I don't need anything else. I don't need a quality website. I don't need that. I don't need to do some of the print, or I don't need to keep consistent on social media. And I'm always kind of like, what if something could change tomorrow? COVID happened, a lot of shops got work, but something else might happen. Then you're 5 years out doesn't mean anything, right? There's always people that have disposable income, but what's your thoughts on that for other up and coming shop owners or current shop owners to think about?
If I talk, can you guys still hear me? But she's backing up again. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I couldn't disagree more. I agree with you, Barry. I couldn't disagree more with the idea. Maybe I'm old school. I'm okay with that. I was also trained hardcore in New York City by some of the biggest marketing and Wall Street firms in the world. Like, I don't respond to people without a proper email address. Like, if I'm online at gmail.com, like, no. Have some pride, have some self-respect. What does it cost to get your own website, so to speak, GoDaddy website, and then put your own URL on there. Jason@I'mYourPerson.com. And so you have a proper website, you have a proper social presence, you have a proper email address, you have a proper business card, and the universe listens to that stuff. You might not ever give a business card out. Someone might not ever really visit your website, but when you know it's there and someone's investigating you, or someone, an employee or yourself or whatever, they all represent who you are. And so I always question when someone says, oh, I'm 5 years booked out, but I don't need any of that stuff. What's your 5-year business look like? What does your book look like? Like, I'm 30 years booked out with oil changes. Like who cares? Right? You know what I mean? Like where are your Super Bowl rings, man? Like, are you 5 years booked out with Pebble Beach Concours Restoration? Yeah. What's my friend? Ralph Lauren's restorer. Oh my goodness, my brain. He's considered the number one restorer restoration facility in the world. He never has to think about another Concours restoration in the world. In Massachusetts, it'll come to me 30 minutes from now. Right, we're about buying up
after we're done, right?
Paul Russell and Company. So okay. Yeah, Paul doesn't need a website. Does he have a beautiful website? Of course he does. But Paul is a 45 plus year veteran and has restored all of the top collectors' collections in the whole world. And so, yeah, that's real work. That's what we're all fighting for. That's what we all want, right? Nothing but $1 million projects with the biggest collectors in the world, going to the biggest events in the world. That's what you want. And until you're there, you're faking it till you make it, so to speak.
Well, they do say that's what you're supposed to do, right? I said they do say that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Well, sooner or later you got to turn, right? So I know a lot of people have never turned, right?
True.
Way more people have never turned than turned, right?
Very true.
So this is a two-part question for you. You have lots of clients that you gained a lot of trust with your clients and building those rare and exotic cars. How does that translate to building that trust over time, but how does it also translate to more referral work and things like that?
Character by which we operate and the trust which comes from that is the single most important thing in this facility. A lot of our clients might visit us once a year, maybe twice a year. A lot of money goes down, gets turned over between visits, right? Doesn't mean we don't communicate. Doesn't mean we send pictures, but it's different, okay, when they're physically there and know what's happening on a day-to-day basis. Many of our clients are extraordinarily wealthy, and they have the opportunity to bring their car any place, not proximity, on the planet Earth. Oh, the number one restorer of this particular car is in Bulgaria. Great. Not only am I going to send my car to Bulgaria, but I might buy a house in Bulgaria just so I don't have to, so I have my own place. And I'm not shitting you. Like, that's literally how a lot of our clients roll.
Right.
And so if we do anything that would instill any level of distrust or in any way, shape, or form, it's theoretically they got to where they got because they could pick up on that. And I could never sleep with myself. And so everybody here knows that clients is always first. And if it's ever a 50-50 debate, client wins. It's just that simple. Like, well, maybe, but it's really easy. And everybody knows, my managers who run the bills and run the invoicing and, make sure that everything's written down properly with my guys and whatnot. There's really never a debate. And so I think that exudes from us. And I think that naturally translates into referrals. Really, it's funny because referrals come from a new person, but referrals, maybe it's a different term for it, but it's repeat also. When you have a client that says, I want that spot in your shop, you're never giving it up because I know you run a backlog. So when this project is done, I'm bringing on my trail to the next project. To me, it's as good as a referral because You're basically saying like, you're always my guys. And I love you enough because I'll tell you something else, which is a really funny thing. There is an element of referrals with some of the top guys, which can get a little tricky because when they find their guy and they're winning awards at events and they know that there's always backlogs and they know how few of us are left out there, some are a little reticent about handing out our name because what if that person who I handed out your name to is bigger and they spend more money or they've got better cars and I now all of a sudden don't have my spot, which would never happen with us, but you can see it sometimes. You feel it. It's actually discussed sometimes, right? So I'll give you this referral, but I always have my spot, right? I'm like, right.
That's a really good point. Like, I guess, like, we don't always think of it from the perspective of well, I don't want to share that information because what if you take over where I'm supposed to be, right? Like that little bit of that fear of missing out, or, that I don't want to jeopardize having my stuff taken care of over your stuff.
It's like Hollywood. It's like a Hollywood stylist. Like, I got my stylist. I look good on the red carpet. I'm not having anyone you dress anybody else, right? God forbid. And so there's a little bit of that goes on, right? I think the personality match of who is attracted to us and who likes working with us, they tend to not be that, because this almost blends into the trophy hound concept of people who are only in it to win trophies, and my guy wins me trophies, and we don't really do that. And so we don't work with those kind of people. And so it's more love and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it has to all be based on the love for the automotive, right? Like exactly what you said is that your clientele are people who truly love what their vehicle is. They're not just somebody who was like, oh yeah, I picked it up because it was something that I, just really liked, but they really care that it's something that is important to them, right? So it holds a different significance. And that's how you guys seemingly, based off what you said, like really work within your business, is like you build those relationships with those clients who have that profound love for that, whatever that vehicle is, or vehicles, right? Many, whatever that number is.
Vehicles, plural. Thank goodness. Right?
Yeah.
You perfectly said, they love their cars for various reasons. They know that we love their cars because we really do like what we do. And that creates the environment where they will repeat or refer.
Yeah.
Grounded in the trust that they know that if we're billing, even though we're expensive, they know that every single penny that we bill for is justly earned.
Yeah.
And they know that if there's something that we screwed up, we will not bill, or at least we will explain why we're billing a portion of it or not. This is one of the hardest things that anyone can do. 98% failure rate. It took us 3 times. We're going to bill you for 2, not 3, or 1 versus 3. Is that fair? Is that okay with you?
Right.
Of course, guys, of course. Or, well, and then we'll have a bigger conversation. And then if there's a well, then we won't bill at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that, again, if you really think about it, and again, maybe Barry, to the whole referral thing, one and dones is not how you build a business. It's exhausting. If you're constantly hunting, it changes your personality. And so are you really going to fight? And so many business owners do this incorrectly. Are you really going to fight for the extra $2,000 or $5,000 and risk losing the next $500,000 restoration from this guy or referral? Come on, think.
Right.
Think. What is the 500? Oh, this guy's got $1 billion. What's the $500 to him? It's not. That's the wrong question to ask, right? You, unfortunately, until you're the person writing out the checks, you are still servicing. You are still helping. You are still under watch. And so it doesn't make a difference if they have $1 million or not. It matters how you treat that $1 million. So if they feel you're not treating, how many people ask them for money every single day of their lives?
Right.
You don't want to be the next person in line doing that. Don't ever ask your clients for something that's outside of the realm of, like, I run Motor Car Cavalcade. I will never ask any of my clients who own huge businesses that sponsor major events to sponsor the event.
Right.
I'll invite them and send them free tickets to come. If they have something to me saying, Jason, I would love to have and help and participate.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then I won't even talk to them. I'll send them to my sponsorship person at Motor Car Cavalcade, because I do not want to ever come across as a salesperson. It's just not my thing. So these are all elements which build relationship, that allow trust, and again, looping it back to referral and repeat business. And I never sweat the small things. I'm only looking for the big things. That's it. That build those long-term type of relationships.
And those relationships take time to build sometimes, right? You meet somebody and you don't even talk to them for 3 years, and then they're calling you and say, hey.
Yeah, there's an entire graduate level course I can teach on that. I'll say one thing just really quickly, and that is, I'm not saying that it can't get tough. When you're starting a business and when you're small and cash flow is really, really painful, and $5,000 or $2,000, it can be life or death between a week and payroll. That's your responsibility to suck it up. Because if you do it wrong, you'll never get to a point where it doesn't matter as much. And if you do it wrong, you're breaking the trust internally and externally. And so, yeah, there will be weeks when you're starting out, and there will be weeks when you don't have a business or a good business built, or where you might not eat, and your guys get paid first, and you as a business owner might get. But yes, that is the pain and suffering you must go through. Because if you say, I don't want to have pain and suffering, and I'm going to fight for that $2,000, I'm going to put my finger on the scale a little bit just so I make sure. Yeah, shame on you, and fuck you for ruining the industry for the rest of us. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Maybe they
Giving
can go
the
work in a
industry
cubicle or work for somebody else instead of owning a business, right?
it's serious business what we're talking about right here.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Annette Bauer Creative. At Annette Bauer Creative, we understand the power of visual storytelling in transforming brands and driving growth. From capturing the essence of your products and services to showcasing the unique solutions you offer, our professional imagery and reels help bring your brand to life. Fuel your brand and ignite your vision at AnnetteBauerCreative.com.
So Barry, sorry, looping back. I'm sorry, I just wanted to complete that, but that's an important point. What your question was again?
It just fell out of my brains.
Of course it did. Pull a Russell. Oh no, that's right.
Well, this gives me an opportunity to kind of jump back to, you'd made a statement a little bit ago, which I think kind of pushes us into a different conversation, which is, and we're seeing this a lot. So like I come from the performance side of things. Obviously Barry comes from the restoration and shop side of things. And we see it across the board in our industry, right? Which is our generation. We're just generationally aging out, right? So like it's our duty to bring in younger generations and either teach them knowledge that we have, teach them the skills that we have, share the passion that we have, help them build and push forward our industry. So you would mention, like your clientele as a whole, right? And those of you within your industry that are just super great at what you do, like that is knowledge that we don't always think about that because we're going through the process of what we do every day. And we just think like, well, of course they know this, right? But they don't. And so it's hard sometimes to take that step back and say, okay, how do I teach the next person, the next generation, so that they understand how to carry this forward?
So I don't know. I don't remember what made it onto any of the forums or what we discussed, or a little bit of tidbits about myself. But so I'm honored to be on the board of directors of America's Automotive Trust. And one of the entities that the trust oversees is called the RPM Foundation. Mm-hmm. And I was put on the board, and I specifically most passionately interact with the RPM Foundation, restoration, preservation, and mentorship. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, we write curriculum, we fund, we scholarship the younger generation to pass down the skill sets. We shoot video. I always have an apprentice here. As a matter of fact, they just interviewed our apprentice over the summer yesterday, who's joining us. I've done this for years. I mean, I helped write the book. It's not a book, the doctrine for the Library of Commerce, so that we can separate our industry, the NCU, the NCIS, the code. Every industry in the world has got a code that the IRS, and we in the restoration world are blanketed together with the repair industry.
Oh, the NCIS.
Which is ridiculous, right? Because we have nothing to do with that industry. And so for us to get the proper funding, to get scholarships, to get schooling and all these things back, we've got to separate ourselves out. Right. And so we're not fighting, but we're pushing hard with the government to give us our own code, so that we can be treated differently and get different types of grants. All about helping make sure that our industry survives through the youth that is losing it. But I don't want to say lost it, but it's tenuous right now.
Yeah. Well, we have like a huge, push right now for EV, right? And I'm not taking anything away from as we progress, right? And we take in new technologies that can either work better, work more efficiently, create different creature comforts, whatever. I'm not taking anything away from that, but do not under any circumstance take away the combustion engine, right? Like that is
my cold dead hands, right?
Yeah, for real. Like that is one thing that Barry and I have had this conversation multiple times, and we've had it with our guests multiple times. I'm all for that evolution of progress, but don't take away the history and the foundation of where we started. Don't take away where automotive came from, right? Because there are things in our world that absolutely under no circumstance could function in an EV only space.
When we're bringing our kids back and forth to school and back and forth in the supermarket, I don't need a Hemi V8. I don't need a Jaguar 4.2. I need an EV or whatever the version of our evolution is going to be, where we have the least impact on the environment, the easiest thing to recycle, the lowest cost to operate, and all these wonderful things that technology can provide us to make our world a better place to live in, because that we might be too late for that. When we move to Mars, we don't want to fuck up Mars. So we got to get it right better now before we screw up another fucking planet, right? But other than that, Yeah, no, we need internal combustion engine for history, and look, there's no denying it. And we can wax philosophic, but there is something really extraordinary, just like humans and dogs. There is something extraordinary about the connection between us and moving machines, right?
100%.
Where you hear, feel, smell this machine that conceptually the human is can you control them. We created it. We're the master of it. Although that's a crazy thing to say, right? Because I just probably broke every car in the shop, right? Every car's not going to run now because I just said that. I didn't really mean it like that. I'm just having fun, right? Come to the gremlins living in the rafters that are watching always. But the car gods, so to speak. But don't remove that from us. It's part of the soul of who we are as humans. It's this incredible, from the first tool that was made, with an opposing thumb, to, internal combustion engines and hypercars and things like that rev to 16,000 RPM, right? I hear them every single night going downtown in my apartment. So idiots who start that car up ice cold and go to 16 grand in 2 seconds, like.
Your valves love you. It's fine. Keep going.
Your mechanic loves you too, right? I've always been, drive whatever you want to drive, right? But don't force me to choose, right? And so I've always been kind of the anti-EV guy. But it was interesting. My wife called me the other day. She goes, my boss had to take his Cadillac into the shop and they lent him an EV. And the boss came in the office and says, you want to try driving this? She drove it. She says, I need my noise. I need to hear it shift. I need to have all that visceral, I don't know the word for it, but because she drives the Explorer ST that has an exhaust system I put on it. So it's fun to drive, right?
You, Barry, keeping it real, man.
Yeah. So she called me. She says, we will never own a VV. And I'll tell you why. Plus, what's interesting too, it's no, nothing is Cadillac, but she says the shifter was kind of weird. She says, I didn't even know how to put it in drive because they did something really strange in this little thing. It stuck out from the center. So I'm like, come on, designers, keep it simple. Sometimes don't try to change stuff that's been, people are just used to, right? But anyways, we talk a lot about marketing on this podcast and how businesses market. And I wanted to ask you, we talked about shows on TV, and you were on a Motortron show that I've seen it, a documentary, Long Road to Monterey. How did that affect your business doing that show? Did that help your business?
That was the question that we lost when you said something about magazines and how does it translate the business? So it's a perfect segue. No, it doesn't help your business. It does, but it doesn't. So there's what did I just do? I just moved something. There we go. So I'm not going to go into the graduate level course on the whole thing, but quite simply, what I've learned the hard way, because there's always this expectation that something happens. You get a magazine article, you do a podcast.
Right.
Back then it was a magazine article, then it was TV and all that fun stuff, that the phone's going to ring, it's going to ring off the hook, right? And it so doesn't happen like that. And so like demoralizingly doesn't even come close to happening like that, right? And so sitting at home sucking your thumb in the fetal position for 6 months, like I thought I was never going to have to market again. And where's my business? And, okay, grow up really quick. Okay, but what it does do, and what it does do is it creates a brick. And you take that brick and you build a house, and you can't build a house without the bricks. And if you look at the house, you never realize it's made up of 100,000 bricks, right? Or 1,000 bricks, whatever it is. But it is. And if you don't do these things, if you don't get these accolades, if you don't get these moments, if you don't get these accomplishments, you don't get the brick and you don't build the house. And that almost goes back to the website. Like if you don't have these bricks in place, you never actually really formally build the house.
Right. I've never heard it said like that. That's interesting because a Pebble Beach award is a brick, right? Getting on a podcast is a brick. Getting in a magazine article, being on a board, whatever, all these little pieces that build who you are and who your business is important, right? I want to go back to the youth engagement because it was interesting. We were just at Spring Carlisle for Armo, and we had 2 days, we had schools bring in the kids from the tech school to come in and check out and have us talk to them. Lou Santiago does a podcast. He talked to them on both days. And one day, myself and one of our other members, our chair-elect, we both talked to the students, and I talked about the fact that you may be in tech school right now doing auto body collision work. And I tried to tell them, look, I did tell them, there are lots of really cool jobs that you can take these skills to other than doing deer struck accidents every day, right? You may start there, but understand there's all these other really cool jobs out there in restoration shops, performance shops, build shops, fabrication shops, race shops that I don't know if the schools talk about that, right? To say, look, there's all these other cool things you can do if you apply yourself and learn things, right?
It's one of the reasons why we do shop tours here, to introduce kids to that. I can go into an entire graduate level course on the bell curve, right? How there's always going to be certain kids at the tail end that are exceptional. There's the meat and potatoes that fill in all the ranks. And then there's the ones who you want to kind of help, but they're not going to ever help themselves. And you kind of, unfortunately, but that's just life. It always happens like that, right? There's always going to be somebody in a collision environment, in a mechanic environment that doesn't fit in. Why? Because they don't belong there. They belong in a race shop, in a hot rod shop, in a restoration shop. And the universe ultimately will
place them,
help them get there. Mm-hmm. What our role is, and what I hope all of our roles are, is to get them there quicker. Because we need them on this side. We don't want them to get demoralized. We don't want them to become jaded. I've had to heal psychologically many people that have come from that industry that walk in the door like waiting for whatever the bullshit that goes on in that industry. It's a totally different industry, right?
Yeah.
Than what goes on inside of a restoration shop. And so it's almost like a poor dog that you rescue. Like they don't quite know where they stand. And so the sooner and the quicker we help those kids know that there's an alternative, know that the reason why they don't fit in is not because of them, it's because of the other people, and they can flourish and have skill sets. That's what our responsibility is. That's what our job is. And so the more podcasts and the more things I write, the more curriculum, the more grants we give out, the more we do, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? We're helping people, but selfishly, we're helping us. I need and want great people to work here.
Yeah.
I provide a great place for people to work. Come, right? Let the meat and potatoes, let the middle of the bell curve be at dealerships where the information's more stable and it's all data and they plug in a thing and it tells them what to do. And you know what I'm saying? They don't have to be more creative, and that's fine. That's great. You need those people. Yeah. I need the pirates. We need the pirates, the ones that can think left and think right and don't just assume that because the part is in their hand, it fits the car. Because, we have a serial number car that it changed 3 weeks. Don't just ratchet it on. Like, there's no power tools in this place. You have to feel every turn of every bolt. That's not for everybody, right?
Right.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
And so we hunt for those type of people, and we want to support those kind of people.
And the same ones, those are the same people that don't like to work book rate. I have to get this done in this much time. Don't rush me. I want to take my time. I want to do it right. I'm an artist. A lot of this restoration is being very design focused art, having that mindset that they're working on a piece of art a lot of cases.
Materials.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the only way to do it properly.
You're a Land Rover guy. You like to go on these adventures. You have too many Land Rovers, I guess you said.
Too many? What?
Okay, never mind. Not as many. I'm a older defender guy. I don't know a lot about them, but you said you do a lot of adventure. What's the one adventure that you've done that was like really cool and that you always talk about?
Well, car focused or life focused?
Life focused. This is an outside of work thing.
Oh, I've done National Geographic stuff with Red Bull guys down Himalayan mountains, down Class 5 rivers, living out in the wilderness for a month. I mean, I have a story which I'm not going to go into, but...
Oh, that was you on Naked and Afraid.
Yeah. Yeah, except there's no cameras. This is real. Like there are panthers that are watching you in the middle of the night, and you're cooking your own food and you're in Class 5 and it throws you out of the river. And this is not Class 5 Colorado. This is Class 5, the Tamor River coming out of the Himalayan mountains where there's not another human being around for about 5,000 miles. I've gone into villages where they haven't seen white people in years. Really? And it's funny because they have this thing, like they speak a little bit with their hands and they're like, and that means like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like we got three goats with all of our shit packed on them, and we're packing stuff out, and we're trying to get to the putting point of the river. But the only way we can get to the river is no roads, there's no power, there's no internet. 7 days trekking up and over Himalayan mountains to get to the river, and you every once in a while you go through a village.
I think that's going to be my new favorite hand gesture.
Wow.
Now, on the car note, in conclusion, with the Land Rover, I'll tell you what my goal is. Not my goal, but this is a bit of a bucket listy kind of thing, there's a number of steps that have to evolve. But ultimately, I want to be in one of my Land Rovers, and I need to drive around the world and live out of it, like from taking through the Darien Gap over to Madagascar. But I mean, theoretically, you can just do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's got to be done with the right, am I retired? Is the business done? Is that how I'm going to live the next 20 years of my life? Is it a full life commitment? Is it a 1 year period? So I haven't quite worked out those details yet. But the next time you ask me what my great adventure could be, it might be being broadcast from Nairobi in a Defender with my dog, living out of it for the last year and a half. It could be.
Nice.
We'll see.
Yes.
Definitely going to happen.
It.
Very cool.
I
You won't see me doing any of that.
Oh my gosh, I would love to do something like that. I would love to be just pack up and go and just experience. There's so much in the world and in life to experience. I tell my husband all the time, we reside in California right now. Don't hold that against me.
I know tough politics, but I actually really love California. So good.
But my plan is hey, I want to retire out of California. And my biggest push for that really honestly is that there is just so much to see across our great nation and across the world that I don't want to silo myself to one location for the rest of my life. I've already been here for my entire life up to now. And there's just so much to see and so much to experience. And I've been really blessed to have the opportunity to travel across the nation, covering a multitude of different race events. And just having that experience has really put me in a place of appreciation and wanting to have that connection with other community people that resonate within my space, especially within the performance side of things. And get to see the world and experience those things as a whole, right? I just think that life is short. And I hear people say all the time, oh, you only live once. No, the reality is you die once. You live every day.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, Annette, I'm just not one to live out of a Land Rover or even a van, but we've been to
but I would do that
Italy and Spain and Ireland and Scotland. We've been all over the place. It's fun. Sorry, Jason, I talked right over you.
No, I talked over you, but you just made a quote, and I just quoted a Chris Farley, living in a van down by the river on government cheese. One of the funniest things you just said, I'm not living in no, truck. I was I completely, sorry about that.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm not living on government cheese, I can tell you that.
That's hilarious.
Really quick, I just, hang on a second. Let me see if I can find this somewhere. Where is this? Media project. So this is something I saw written. It was written on the side of a piece of paper on a land speed record car. Ready for this? Life's journey is not to arrive at the grave safely in a well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, totally worn out, shouting, "Holy shit, what a ride."
Oh, yes.
Now that was on the cockpit of a guy who was about to do 600 miles an hour in a jet car on the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm a firm believer that, obviously, everybody knows everybody has an expiration date, right? God is going to pull your ticket when it is your time, no matter what you're doing, no matter, what you planned. Exactly, 100%. So again, going back to my statement, you die once, you live every single day, and make the most of what you can every single day, because it you hear it all the time, you just never know, right? You could walk out your front door and get hit by a car or whatever, but you can also walk out your door and talk to one person and completely change your entire life.
Just say yes all the time. That's the universe. That's kind of how I roll pretty much now.
Right.
For years.
Right. So, I love it. Well, Jason, you have shared so much super cool information. I think that you're just an absolutely outstanding, super cool guy. And I love all of your experiences and how you got to where you are in your business, the passions that you've kept, the principles that you execute, and how you maintain what you do for our industry. So thank you so much for not only being a guest, but being impactful in our industry, being passionate about our industry, because we need that more than ever. and for taking an active role to really get more of that younger generation involved and as passionate as you are to keep, again, the industry moving forward. So thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So this kind of, well, actually, do you have a question? It sounded like you had a question.
No, I was going to say, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been fun. It's great to see you again, Barry. Wonderful to make your acquaintance, Annette. Open invite for this crazy place, this crazy barn for both of you.
I love it.
Hope to see you at an event.
If I'm ever out that way, I'll definitely look you up for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to kind of wrap things up a bit, and we always end our podcast with a super fun speed round. And the questions that I'm going to ask you, I really want you to answer whatever comes to the top of your mind. Don't think too much on it. I do have a question at the end who stumps everybody, so don't feel like you're going to be left alone when we get there. So first question is, what is your favorite driver, team, hot rod, muscle car, or truck?
So I'm an off-road guy. Point blank, I can maybe the Baja 1000, off-road rally racing. I grew up on Iron Stewart and those types of guys. So I'm going to go back to my core. I never drew pictures of girls. I drew pictures of trucks running over cactuses. So
cool.
That's my answer to question number one. That's my speed round for number one. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to segue real quick. Hilarious thing. So when my husband and I first got married, my husband said, like, I don't know, like, what is it that you want your wedding day to look like? He's all, isn't that like what every girl dreams of? And I was like, their wedding day? And he was all, yeah. And I was like, maybe other girls. I was like, that's not what I dreamt of.
Princesses and ponies and
right. And he was like, really? He was like, so like, if you didn't dream like, you know, like what your wedding day was going to look like, what your life looked like as you know, like kids, whatever. He's all, what was it? And I was like, honestly, it was how big my truck was going to be. It was not like what my wedding day was going to be like.
Best. Awesome. What a partner, Barry. She's the best. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. And maybe you can put a little pink on there if you want. I like your get up, but it was truck, right? So
100%.
Yeah. I think Bill Strop and his Bronco. I mean, these are my guys. So anyway.
Yeah. I have a buddy who like he does a bunch of off-road racing right now. So he is in the thick of it, loves it. Like he really just got involved in it within the last couple of years. And he is
because on my list for next year is Nora. And so I'm taking next year's Nora very seriously to potentially do that. You know, the gentleman's race. I'm not sponsored, but just they call it the safari race, where I can at a normal speed and not destroy everything I own, but still
including
go on
your
the road
body
covered in dust and, you know, have to wash dust out of your butt crack for like a week, all that great stuff. You know, I love it. Right? I love it. Like I didn't even know that part of my body existed, and I got like a pocket of dirt in there. Like, how did that even happen?
How'd that get there?
How did that even get?
100%.
What?
All right,
like,
so this is an important one. Yeah, exactly. There you go. This is an important one because this is very relative to what you do, and that is, what is your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Oh my goodness. So first of all, I know this is speed round, but this is a great question. A real restorer's toolbox looks nothing like a mechanic's toolbox. Every
100%.
single tool we own is bent, twisted, something's welded onto it, because you're basically half the tools that built these cars don't exist anymore. Right. And so you have to modify the tools that you have to work. And so I don't particularly have a favorite tool in that genre, but just worth saying that I have a litany of peculiar things that, unless you have a tag on it that says, oh, this is to get to the valves, the last valve seal on the back of a Roots 1725 engine that only one tool in the world, like it would, but when they first came out with plasma cutters, like that was really fun. Like you can cut metal like you're drawing on a pen. That was really, really fun. That's a really cool thing. You know, I'm not good at it, but I love our English wheel because we have a real one, not one of these tubular ones that you buy from a modern place. These are true cast iron, old English ones. It takes a truck to move in and out. So that's a really, and also I love it because it's so historical. It's literally how all the French cars and, you know, all the swooping fender cars were built. And so, yeah. And then personally, and then again, this is not, it's romantic, but it's not. I have a couple of tools that my grandfather used. I was a wire stripper and a cool, do I have it here in front of me? No, maybe I do. It's in my toolbox, right? And it's one of those screwdrivers that you undo the back and it keeps, it's like, it keeps coming out, but they're from like the 1910s and stuff like that. And so
that's
I
awesome.
have them, I still use them. And so nothing special, but but wonderfully, awesomely nostalgic, right?
But it is special. I mean, like, that's crazy. Like, shoot, like, look at how many tools you can't even get to last, like, in modern days. But now you take something that was built centuries ago and
you
it's
hold
still,
these things and they're heavier than anything you have today. It's really interesting, right?
Yeah, it's truly a weapon.
When you break your knuckles and someone walks up and says, like, how's it going? Like, I'm going to grab my antique great-grandfather's stripper and I'll tell you how it's going. I got to drill this bolt out. It's the last one too, of course, right?
Hey, we have this saying, our producer that's on here every once in a while, that no project's complete unless you bleed. It wasn't done right if you don't bleed.
You got to give a little bit of blood to the car guys.
That's it. Every time. All right. What is your favorite? Well, let's see. Well, I'm going to say, what is your favorite event, automotive event, car show, or if you have a racetrack?
I really do love going to Laguna Seca during Pebble Beach week and sitting at the Corkscrew on Saturday and watching the historics go by. I love the access you have at the paddock so that you can really walk up to some of these incredibly historic cars with no barriers and just interact and smell the hot oil and fuel. It's really wonderful. Before certain things happened in the industry, my favorite event was the Lemons, where all the crazy beat up junky cars, the Pintos and the limos from Las Vegas in 1970 with mysterious stains everywhere that you do not know where it came from.
You don't want to know.
You don't want to ask.
Anywhere near this thing. I love it, right? I love the ones that are in California during Pebble Beach week, which all the crazy California hippie dudes come out. They're like, back in 65, I was living in this van for like 8 years. Right? A shark once bit the corner of my van, and there's the tooth still stuck in it. Like, great stuff, right?
Right.
So I don't really have a modern racetrack that I truly love, right? It just, if I was a race driver, I love the bends and I love the peaks. I love Laguna Seca. I love Atlanta, whatever it is, or Elkhart Lake or whatever it is.
Right.
Not necessarily. So I'm comfortable with saying I love the history of the Laguna Seca Historic specifically. And I love the Lemons because of the irreverent, awesome nature that it connects us with laughing at cars and not taking it too seriously, right? We can go to Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach I respect immeasurably because it is our anchor for the entire industry. But it's a little nerve-wracking. It's a high pressure. It's intense. It's incredibly special. Yeah. And I love it. And it will always be one of not my favorite event, but I can't name it like my favorite event because it's too serious for me, right?
Right. That's fair. All right. So here's the final question. Drum roll.
The stumper.
That's it. What is the best advice you've ever received and from whom?
Got goosebumps, right? I never thought of it like this. Well, there's an irreverent one and then there's a real one. So the irreverent one is actually sitting on a plaque behind me. It says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
100%.
Which was never given to me. That's a famous quote. If you look up at the top of my screen, you see +1, -1. That's one of my favorite quotes, which I give to people, which is +1, -1. Never let yourself get to +2. Never let yourself get to -2. There's always someone who's doing better and more successful than you, so don't get too cocky. Yeah. You're allowed to celebrate, but don't go to +2. Keep yourself excited at +1. Similarly, when shit's going wrong and you want to slide to -3, remember there's someone who's got it harder, who's been working harder, who's gotten kicked in the balls harder than you. You're allowed to lament. You're allowed to lick your wounds. You're allowed to even feel bad for yourself a little bit, but not past -1, okay? Right. The advice given to me, actually, when I think about it, comes from my father, my late father, who passed away when I was much younger. And it was interesting because that when you're younger, it never made sense to me, but it makes a lot of sense to me now, and this kind of ties into the whole universe thing. Son, there's no such thing as right or wrong decisions. There's just decisions. Mm-hmm. It went to something you said, Annette. You can walk out the door, you get hit by a car, you can walk out the door, and you can meet someone that can change your life. You can get the job, and it could be the worst job you ever got. You could say no to the job and say, I can't believe I blew this, and realize that it also turned into an opportunity that you would have never had if you moved or if you had a different boss. And so there's no real such thing as a good or bad decision. It's what you do with those decisions, what happens from those decisions. That's the universe. Yeah. We kill ourselves to make the right decision. I never ever ask anymore for the right decision. I ask for the decision. I ask for the thing to happen, a decision to be made that's best for me. Right. Even if it hurts for 3 years. Right. I don't know what the answer is. And so that was said to me years and years and years ago, and it resonates more powerfully more and more every single day, every year of my life now.
Isn't it funny how as we get older that really becomes very prevalent in our lives? Because I know for me that, like in the second half of my life now, I'm like, I care less about the titles. I care less about the wage, right? Like, I mean, yes, I still need a wage to survive. That's important for just livelihood, but I care less about that. And I care more about my time, right? Like having time to spend with my family, freedom to do the things that I enjoy truly. And I am a huge advocate and believer in everything happens for a reason.
Great stuff.
Yeah, Jason, that first quote you mentioned, I've said that numerous times, and I remember being in your office there, you talking about +1, -1, telling me what that is. I remember you telling me about that. Well,
don't mean to be boring or repeat, but it is something I really believe in. I do
talk
to people.
I think you went even deeper this time with that. Well, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you, Jason, for joining us today. We had fun. Can you tell our audience where people can find you, how they can connect with you?
Thank you. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much. Great conversation. Cars, life, freaking kids, education, great stuff. So the name of the company is The Creative Workshop. My company is The Creative Workshop. We're located in Dania Beach, Florida, which is basically Fort Lauderdale, Southeast Florida. We're right below the airport. Really cool building, as we've discussed. www.thecreativeworkshop.com. And our Instagram is The Creative Workshop. And I don't post regularly, but when I do post, it's special. So it's not just constant. But if you go, you can really see a history of projects and cool stuff we've done. So if you're into cars, which you probably are if you've gotten this far, we have some cool stuff that goes on here. Happy to share.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we are fueling your success. We know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.